what we are going to be talking about is the website where we've got all of this wonderful material that people can look at. You know, they can look at the metadata for all of these different manuscripts. They can look at the photos of the manuscripts in different ways and using our photo viewer or using the Mirador viewer, and they can look at the text and they can search in the text, and everything is amazing. And they can also use our interactive apps for building books from these texts if they want. They can use our apps for analyzing the text and for exploring the text. And we also have a magical new app that allows people to enter new metadata or edit the metadata or add new entries on the website. Let's go over how this actually works, and let's do that by following this database documentation document that I've written. I spent a lot of time on it, so hopefully it is understandable by people who are not me. If it isn't, then please leave some comments on the document and suggested rewrites and so on. But here's the documentation. You can see a table of contents out here. You'll see there's a little welcome note here about the motivation behind it and why me and Bjarne started to do this and why it's important. And then here's a picture of me ziplining. Hopefully you will shortly feel like you're, woo, this is so cool. Like I understand everything now. I have all the power as we go through. There's some initial notes here for developers of the project. There's many different moving pieces. So over time, me and Bjarne spoke yesterday about kind of the timeline for the next 5 years maybe, and what kind of people to have been involved. But there can be multiple people working on this project because there's really lots of different things involved in it. Some general programming skills here that are required. I built most things here with R and with JavaScript. There's a third language, Go, involved, which is used by the static site generator Hugo we use. But if you just understand some general programming stuff, then you should be able to get by. You need to have some general understanding of how internet programming works, HTML and CSS. And it's also going to be useful with some experience with databases. We've actually deliberately not used a formal database because nobody understands formal databases. So what we actually have done is that the manuscript information simply lives in a Google Sheet because everybody knows what a Google Sheet is. And then we've built a little app for editing content in that Google Sheet. So that's much easier than whatever people do with Postgres and what SQL and all that other stuff. There is a little bit of databasing stuff going on in terms of the text mining things, because there's a lot of text information. So I did use a little bit of some DocDBs for that. Here's a list of some of the specific languages that are being used. We use Hugo as the site generator for the website. You can read everything about Hugo on Go Hugo. Go Hugo, the world's fastest framework for building websites. And it's just a very simple way to, well, in principle it's simple, in practice it's being a little bit complex. A way to build databases that are static, that is, they don't have a database behind them. They're just plain HTML files out there on the internet that your browser loads. R and R Markdown. All of our web apps use a tool called Shiny, which is a way to build interactive web applications where you don't need to know so much about JavaScript, and where you can use all the data science power of R to do things. So there's a lot of R and R Markdown. We'll get into that. R Markdown is just a way to mix text written in Markdown with code in R. There's a lot of JavaScript involved for the website programming. There's lots of open source JavaScript libraries we use for different parts of the website. And there's also lots of functionality that I custom built myself. If you know a little bit about React, React is a open source front end framework for building websites. I don't actually use that to build everything, but it's used a little bit indirectly because the Mirador viewer, which we've included, is actually built in React. So if you know something about React, it might be helpful. It doesn't really matter. And then finally, the last moving piece involved is the International Image Interoperability Framework, or IIIF. Librarians love IIIF. It's just a standard for how to describe the content of a manuscript in terms of the metadata and its photos, so that it can be that content can be shown in viewers such as this. This is not actually the Mirador viewer. This is some other IIIF viewer. We have included the open source Mirador viewer that was built originally, I think, by some people at Stanford. Here's Project Mirador, and here's a demo of it. And the Mirador viewer ultimately gets its information from a IIIF manifest that's just a text file that looks a bit like this. This looks awful to humans, but computers, they love it. They look at this, they're like, I want to eat this all day. And you can see that there's information here about whatever you see here. So if we can probably see, so I should be able to find Maurice Wertheim. There we go. There's Maurice Wertheim. Great. I wonder who Maurice is. Probably great. So that's all of the different moving pieces involved. So I've also put some learning resources for the different things involved here. I think I didn't put any for JavaScript actually, but for everything, I recommend CS50 for everything. This is probably kind of the best way to learn JavaScript. And I put some other resources here for learning how to use Git and GitHub with RStudio. Blockdown is the way we use the Hugo static site generator. Blockdown is just a way to be able to include our code when we build a Hugo website, which means that we can be a little bit lazy sometimes, which is great, and just use some of the power from R. And I'm an expert in R, so that makes things quite easy for me. Oh yeah, and then feel free to fix all of my mistakes as we go along here. You can read about how Blockdown works online as well. I'm going to talk you through as we go through things now. If you want to learn how to use Shiny is absolutely wonderful. A really wonderful way to build interactive web apps with R, and there is this amazing book, open ebook that will explain you about how Shiny works, so you can to develop that. Why would you do text analysis in R? There's this wonderful ebook here that will tell you everything you need to know about that.